Good morning, and live on tape from the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, this is Gary DeWaal with a special edition of Katten Between Bridges dated April 13, 2020. Morphing financial products that potentially caused or arguably should have caused the instruments to move from the oversight of one financial regulator to another highlighted non-COVID-19 developments in financial services in the United States during the last 2 weeks. The Korea Exchange saw its Kospi 200 futures and mini futures contracts transform from broad-based security index futures under the sole oversight of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission in the U.S. prior to April 1st to narrow-based security index futures under the joint oversight of the CFTC and the Securities and Exchange Commission in the U.S. on April 1st. Separately, Telegram Group Inc. and TON Issuer Inc. argued in papers filed with the Federal Court of Appeals in New York that Graham's digital tokens proposed to be distributed in October 2019 to initial 2018 purchases of investment contracts would not have constituted securities, but rather would have been commodities outside the scope of securities laws. Such transformations have been acknowledged previously by SEC Chairman Jay Clayton and Director of Corporation Finance William Hinman in public statements regarding the cryptocurrency Ether, argued the petitioners. As a result, I have 3 big stories in this week's special edition of Between Bridges at www.bridgingtheweek.com. My lead article is Yesterday, Kospi 200 Narrow-Based Security Index Security Futures Contracts Seem So Far Away. This article gives an oversight of why KRX stopped listing its Kospi 200 futures and mini futures contracts on the CME Globex platform, and why the contracts were available to all U.S. persons prior to April 1st, but now are only potentially available to U.S. persons during ordinary business hours in Seoul if they are qualified institutional buyers. In Legal Weeds, I review other recent circumstances of both domestic and international exchanges being caught up in the shifting nature of some security index futures contracts that one day are under the sole authority of the CFTC and the next under the oversight in the U.S. of the CFTC and the SEC. My second featured article is Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, an appeals court may determine when a digital token offered in a security offering creeps into a virtual currency. This article covers a recent unsuccessful attempt by Telegraph Group and TON Issuer to limit the scope of a preliminary injunction entered against them by a U.S. federal court in New York in late March. There, the court prohibited the defendants in an SEC enforcement action from distributing the Graham digital tokens to 2018 purchasers of investment contracts because such distribution and possible resale to the public would be part of a scheme that in aggregate constituted an unregistered securities offering, said the court. In my view, I question the legal and practical reasoning of the court. Not surprisingly, I think the court got it wrong. I also covered defendants' appeal of the court's decision to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. And finally, my third principal story, broker-dealer fined $3.2 million for purported incomplete and inaccurate special reports of trading information to SEC over 5 years. This article discusses Cantor Fitzgerald's run-in with the SEC over its filing of over 14,000 responses to Blue Sheet requests over 5 years that allegedly contained erroneous and/or incomplete information. In Compliance Weeds, I discuss other examples of the SEC fining broker-dealers for other Blue Sheet response breakdowns. And of course, there is even more in the current special edition of Between Bridges, including an article on COVID-19 related regulatory matters that may have fallen under the radar. Check out the entire edition at www.bridgingtheweek.com. Well, that's it. Again, though, most importantly, do your best to stay healthy. Follow the rules on social distancing and using masks in public, and try to take advantage of this challenging time to evolve your relationships with your family, friends, and colleagues, albeit using the tools of shelter in place, namely video networking capabilities and the old-fashioned telephone. Until my next edition, ciao.